So our guest tonight is the multi-talented actress, singer, dancer Cheryl Ladd. Cheryl has starred in numerous series and more than 30 made-for-television films. She's also appeared on Broadway in the role of Annie Oakley and recorded a #1 hit single. But the role that made Cheryl a household name is when she played Chris Monroe in the hit series Charlie's Angels. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you, Sydney.
How are you?
Cindy.
Call me whatever you want.
I'm good.
Yeah, so believe it or not, there might be some people watching that have not seen Charlie's Angels. Could you describe the show for us?
Sure. In a nutshell, three very attractive, powerful, intelligent women work together to find bad guys, and they talk to a man they've never met on a box. Who is, of course, Charlie.
Right. That's great. And I mean, wow, what a popular show, right? Crazy.
It still is. It's still playing somewhere all the time.
Yeah. Now, I read that you turned the role down of Chris 3 times.
Yeah, yes, I did. I worked for Aaron before in several of his things. I did Satan's School for Girls with Kate, actually. And so he was highly aware of me. I did the Rookies. I did, he was aware of me. And he wanted me immediately when he knew that Farrah was going to be leaving. So I thanked him and I said, no, thank you. And I think he was quite shocked. I didn't see myself doing that kind. I don't know. I guess I thought I was going to be this big movie star person, and I was going to acting class, and I was doing scenes from brilliant movies and all this stuff. And I don't know. I was just sort of. Had a 2-year-old daughter and doing a series and all of that. Anyway, to make a long story short, he finally called me in and asked if I would come and speak with him. And I said, of course I will. And he said, just tell me why you don't want to do the show. I said, well, first of all, it's Farrah Fawcett. Whoever is going to sign up for this is going to have so many eyeballs and so much expectation. I said, so what would I play? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, what would I play? Who would I be? I mean, he said, well, I don't know what you mean. I said, like, maybe it could be funny. If I could be funny. And he said, why couldn't you be funny? And I went, oh. And I said, and if I'm really the rookie, I mean, really the new girl trying to work really hard, because America fights for the underdog, And he said, I love that. And then his genius, and he said, I know how this can work. You're going to be her little sister. And I went, I'm in. Because then I knew who the character was. It wasn't just going to be words on a page where everybody was going to wish they were watching Farrah, because everybody adored her. So then I got to be part of the family, and that really helped. And then I got to make mistakes and be goofy Chris and trying so hard to be accepted. And it just worked.
I mean, it really was genius, because Farrah was at her peak of popularity, right? So for you to walk in and be like, Farrah too is, crazy.
When I came on the set for the first day, I had a T-shirt made. And at that time, as you know, she was Farrah Fawcett Minor. Farrah Fawcett Majors. And my T-shirt, I had a T-shirt made Farrah Fawcett Minor. So the whole crew and everybody started laughing, and it just kind of, the tension just immediately lightened up, and they laughed, and I felt like they were going to be on my side, which was very.
And was it a grueling schedule?
It was. I think I really didn't know what I was signing up for, and I had a 2-year-old daughter at the time. And we did 22 episodes a year, and it was 5 days a week, not including photo sessions, wardrobes, things, interviews, all of the things that you're pressured to do on your weekend. It was a lot. And the first year, I can do this. And it was exciting because I was accepted. That was a big relief. Because it could have been the end of my entire career if everybody had seen me and gone, we hate her. Why is she on the show? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to get over that
Mm-hmm.
big a miss, you know. So
What were you feeling in your gut? Were you feeling like this is going to work, or?
I kind of, as soon as I got on the set, I just did my work and I knew this character I wanted to play and I was just going to go for it. And it was either going to work or it wasn't. And what was wonderful for me is Aaron called and said, you know, our ratings are up higher than they were the first season with you, Cheryl. So enjoy. And he was like, he had a big hit show, you know, he wanted
Yeah. So what was that time like? Were you were just launched into stardom? I mean, everybody knew you. Could you walk out of your house? Did you have to be dressed all the time? Was there paparazzi? Was it as bad as it is today with paparazzi?
Not as bad, but it was bad. And in the sense that we'd go into restaurants, you know, through the back door, and they had a sense of these certain restaurants that all of us wanted to go to because they were so great. There would always be some paparazzi waiting for a celebrity, and you know, it became just a little fishbowl-ish, you know. And I was really protective of my daughter Jordan. She was so little and everything. And I would say, okay, stop. If I had her with me, please don't take pictures of my daughter. I'll stand here and you can take pictures of me. Please don't take. And at that time they said, oh no, we understand. I said, she's not signed up for this. I am. Please don't take her picture. And they were quite overall really good about it. And it's not the same anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody's fair game.
No boundaries.
None. Yeah.
So the show was criticized a fair amount, but it actually, I read that you got a lot of letters from young women who felt empowered by the girls. I mean, you know, critics call it a jiggle show, you know, TNA, that kind of stuff. But it actually showed three powerful women.
Mostly men critics. If you'll notice, the critics that were saying that were men. So many young women have written to me and said, I wouldn't have been running the police department if it weren't for Charlie's Angels. I wouldn't have fought for this. I wouldn't have been all these things because you forget that at that time and place, you were a teacher, a secretary. There were nothing wrong with any of those jobs, but they were the limit. You could be a nurse, you know, school teacher, secretary, those appropriate things for women.
Yeah.
And women we found out, much more capable than we were given credit for, certainly at that time. Although those doors, and I think that's why Charlie's Angels had such a big impact on particularly women and young women and girls. Because we were a team, we were all working together instead of women being in competition with each other. Where a lot of the shows and movies, the woman was always, you know, trying to hold on to her husband or hating this other woman or what, you know, they were very, you know, needy, all these. And I love those old movies. Don't get me wrong. I love them. And I love all the love stories. I love all of that. But it was just a real breakthrough thing. And we were kind of aware, except Jacqueline and I talk about it all the time. She said, do you remember anything but work when we were doing Charlie? I said, no, not really. There wasn't much social life.
Was there much camaraderie between the three of you?
Jacqueline and I became very close. We would sit on the set together and talk. Kate was a little more separate. Kate was her own universe in some ways.
And so during this time, did you stop and think like, this is what I've always wanted, you know, this kind of fame? Or was it like the good news, bad news thing? Like all of a sudden I'm on a hit show, but I can't go anywhere.
Yes. And more than that, I started really missing Jordan, my daughter, for one thing. She'd come to the set and visit me, but she get bored stiff. I mean, she wanted to go play with her friends in the neighborhood. And, you know, it was hard. It was really hard. And sometimes I'd be at work. I'd be up at 4:30 in the morning and I wouldn't get home till 8 o'clock at night and she'd be in bed.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of hours and times that was the hardest part.
That's
And it
tough.
became exhausting because, you have all these people around you that are helping you and they want everything you want for you. So they say, well, you got to strike while the iron is hot. So in every hiatus, I was either doing a movie of the week, recording an album, sometimes both of those things, doing variety shows, all of which I loved the opportunity to be able to do them. But there was a price,
Mm-hmm.
and
So,
it eventually hurt the marriage. So then all that up brought a lot of the other side too.
yeah. So let's back up a little bit. You grew up in South Dakota. It sounds like a very traditional family,
Was very
but it sounds like too that you just had this burning desire to be a singer.
singer, dancer, acting. I was always living in my head. My sister would tell you some very interesting stories about the odd child I was. But I lived in my own little universe of creativity. And that was okay. I didn't expect everybody to understand.
And your parents fostered it?
Absolutely. My mother loved music, and she took tap dancing lessons, and she loved movies, and she loved music, and I think she just loved Shirley Temple. I mean, she never missed a Shirley Temple movie. So there was something about all of that that she liked. And my mother was a very creative person. I mean, there wasn't a thing my mother couldn't do. So she could sew. She wallpapered one. She knocked down a wall in our house when my dad was away working. This wall has to go. Come on, girls. She gave us hammers and we took a wall down in the house. So this was my mother. My mother was if you want it, go for it.
How about your dad?
My dad was great. He played the guitar. So my love of music certainly came from having it in the house. And he would sing to us, and he would sing this song about Old Shep and my sister and I. And Old Shep dies in the end of the right. We go, oh, Daddy, sing Old Shep. He said, it's sad. We know, we love it, Dad. Then we'd sing and we both just losing it. But my dad was great. I was kind of more of a tomboy too. I was, when I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I mean, I played baseball and whatever anybody was doing, boy or girl, I wanted to do it too. Climb it, jump on it. I was up in a tree all the time, but I had my best ideas up in the tree. And I talked to God. God, told him, we had lots of conversations. There are a lot of people that thought, I couldn't walk. I was skipping or jumping or it had that energy.
But at 16, you had an amazing opportunity. Tell us that story.
Yes. I had been doing some little radio spots for the local radio station, and I had been in every kind of choir, chorus, any church choir, singing and using my voice. And a gentleman who had a band, a jazz band particularly, in our town, they lost their singer. They had all these jobs booked, and they needed a singer, and they didn't want to lose the job. So he asked the gentleman that worked at the radio station if he knew anybody in town, any girl in town that could sing. And he said, yeah, I know one that can sing really well. So he introduced us, and I did an audition. I don't know what I sang. A couple of Cotton Fields, belted out a good old Cotton Fields. I was so green. It was hilarious. I wish I could have a picture of me when I first did that audition. Anyway, so he said, okay, you're not too bad. Do you think you could learn 40 songs in 2 weeks? I go, yes.
Oh my God.
So I did. And then we had to convince my parents that I could go and sing. I wasn't allowed to be in the bars, so I'd have to wait in a different room. Then they'd play my introduction, and now the star of our show. And I'd come out and I'd do that, and then I'd have to go hide because I wasn't old enough to be in the bars.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
How long did that last?
Um, let's see, 18, 17, I was just turning 18. And then I had my 19th birthday in LA because the band was traveling around and we ended up in Los Angeles. And a couple of the guys in the band went up to San Francisco. There was a car accident. Nobody was terribly, terribly injured, but they were injured. So they couldn't play. And they all went back to South Dakota. And the people that were booking us in those nightclubs all over, said to me, you know, you're really talented. If you'd like to stay here, you can stay here in our house with us until you get on your feet. And so God opened another door.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Do
And it
you
was
ever?
wonderful because it was like having a family. They were originally a vaudeville team. So they were in their 70s and still had this business of booking acts. And so it was like having family there, somebody to be that cared about me when I was coming in and out of the house and what I was doing. And they, you know, so they started booking jobs for me.
But if that accident had never happened, chances are you would have continued on the road, right?
Yep. Yep.
Amazing. So your first big job was Melody, right? In
Yes,
Josie and the Pussycats?
that's right. Three
Tell us
girls.
about that. That sounds like so much fun.
It was so fun. And it was just the music, but the songs were fun. And I made a great girlfriend. One of the people that was writing, Sue Sheridan, was, she and I became great friends. And so we got an apartment together. And I got my first car. I was making regular money. I had $3,000 in the bank, and I had a white Mustang, used white Mustang. I'm driving down Sunset Boulevard going, woo, doesn't get any better than this.
That's pretty great.
Yes, I did a lot of commercials. Commercials kept me alive and kept me having the ability to, you know, go to my acting classes. And
So was that the transition? You get to LA, you get the singing role for Josie and the Pussycats, but then
yeah,
do you say, I want to be an actress and you start taking acting lessons?
yes,
So,
yes. And I had done plays in school and things, so I always wanted to be that triple threat:
mm-hmm,
sing, dance, act.
mm-hmm.
And as it turned out, with all of that hard work and dedication and years, I got to go to Broadway and be Annie Oakley on Annie Get Your Gun on Broadway, which was my dream since I was a child.
I mean, that just sounds amazing. And you did that for a whole year, right?
I did it 9 months, I think.
Wow. How is that different?
I'm sorry, 6 months.
How is that different? I mean, it's a live, that must be grueling every night, right?
Oh, it has. Oh no, it wasn't even close to filming Charlie's Angels five
Oh,
days a
really?
week. Oh yeah, oh yeah, it was really hard because you had like 3 costume changes instead of 7, and hairdos and all of that. And anyway, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it because nobody yelled, "Cut! Let's reset. Do it again." Did it? No, you got on the stage and you got to be that character for 2 hours, and nobody said cut. It was
That's
fabulous.
great.
And it
And
was, you know, I was in control of what I was doing,
mhm, mhm.
which was also really fun. And there's nothing like a live audience because Broadway, particularly, and musicals, you just have a sense that the audience is for you. I mean, they
Yeah.
laugh at the jokes and they, you know, they cry when you're crying, and you see it, you feel it. It's like
Mhm.
they're part of the energy of the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it only happens one time. I mean, the show happens a lot of times, but
Mhm.
every single performance is different. It has a different
Oh.
flavor, a different feeling. One time when I was doing it, we would do some of the comedic lines and nobody laughed. And then a few minutes later, while we continue on, they start laughing. We could not figure out what was going on. And then someone told us that there was a whole bunch of people who were deaf. So they had a signer. So they got the jokes, but we couldn't figure out what the heck is going on. It was fun.
Do you want to do more of that?
I would like to. I
Yeah,
would like
I
to.
mean, you just come alive talking about it. It just sounds
Yeah,
like it's just so magical.
it was magical. And all working every day with such great other actors, and the music, I loved every song. There's not a song in the show I didn't love singing, and I
Hmm.
never got tired of it. And to do it, for 6 months, it was, over and over and over. But as I said, every performance felt different. I was in a different frame of mind for whatever reason for me.
Hmm.
And I'd go in and be Annie that night the way I felt Annie. That's so
That's
nice.
great.
All my family came to see me. My parents were so proud.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. But let's back up a little bit to when you were shooting Charlie's Angels. You did a film. You did a pretty intense film during that time, right?
Yes.
What
It
was
was
that?
called When She Was Bad. What happened is I was reading a newspaper on a weekend when I was home, and Jordan was little. She was playing at my feet, and I'm turned to this way at the back, and this caught my eye. Child dead, something that I did, and I started reading it, and this poor child had been terribly abused, and I was just like, God hit me over the head. And I read that, and I started looking at more of these stories, and it's hard to believe that at that time very few people ever reported child abuse. It was never in the papers. If it was in the
Wasn't
papers,
talked
it was on
about.
the very
Yeah.
last page about this big. So I
Hmm.
started researching it and realized and found out that child abuse was an epidemic in our country and nobody was talking about it. So I did this movie called When She Was Bad. And this is a funny story because Charlie's Angels was a hit. So they at ABC called me in and they wanted me to make a movie of the week for them. And I thought, great, this is wonderful. So when they called me in, they said, we'd love you to do a movie of the week for us. I said, great, I know exactly the movie I would like to make. And they go, oh, what is it? I'm sure they were hoping, beaches and bikinis. And I said, well, I would like to do this movie about child abuse because it's epidemic in our country. I've been researching it, and I want to play the abuser.
And they were like, yeah,
I mean, nobody spoke for,
yeah,
it's like you could
right.
hear the crickets. And then I finally said, well, look, I understand this is a very difficult subject to tackle, but it needs to be done, and I want to be part of it, and I want to get this out into the world so people become more aware. And they said, well, it's not really the movie we want to make. And I go, I understand, but they didn't have me under contract for movies of the week. They only had me under contract for Charlie's Angels.
Hmm.
So I said, I hope you understand that I really want to do this, and I'll be taking it to another network. And they go, no, wait, let's talk about this a little more.
Good
So,
girl.
so we
Yeah.
got it done. It was the first time I actually had a sense of being able to stick to my guns and use the power that I had, because I
Hmm.
really believed I could convince somebody to make this movie. And so they
Hmm.
decided to do it, bless them. And it got a lot of attention. And when I was on Dinah Shore's show, talking about the movie and why I wanted to be involved in it and all of that, I said, well, at the end, I said, can I talk to the camera for just a minute? She said, honey, you talk, do whatever you want. So I looked in the camera and I said, if there is anyone out there that is fighting child abuse, will you please contact me, because I want to help. And that was 40 years ago. And I have been working with Child Help and Sarah O'Meara and Yvonne Feddersen, the founders, all these years. And it
That's
has been
incredible.
so amazing.
It's what comes across to me is that you're very spiritual. That you listen to that inner voice or whatever, that things come to you that are supposed to come to you. Is that true?
I well, sometimes they have to hit me over the head with it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes I think that God lets you wander off into, you know, places he'd rather you not be, or choices he'd rather you didn't make, but he lets you do it because then sometimes you have to see the not before you can see the why and what should be, where you should be headed. And I think as a young person, you're open to everything. Oh, really? Is that what I should do? And I mean, you're just getting all this first time adult input where you have to make all the choices yourself, and we don't always make the best ones. I mean, I had my moments.
Well, tell me a little bit more about Child Help. What exactly do they do?
Well, there are two facilities for them, one in Culpeper County, Virginia, and one in Beaumont, California, where they house children. At first, they just did from 2 to 12, but now I think that it's 2 to 14. And they take the most severely abused children who cannot go back into their families. Can't be with their families. They try to rehabilitate families because that would be the optimum, but so many of them can't. And many of them are getting adopted because a lot of people who also care about this go and help and volunteer at these places and pitch in, and inevitably they fall in love with a particular child. And I tell you, not enough of them get adopted, but some of them do. And so many of them have very successful lives because they have had such love and care and learning and development. And one of the great stories is this little boy who came. They have in the Beaumont, well, in both of the facilities, they have animals, and they had this little pony, and they had this little boy who was, I think he was about 5 years old, and they told him that his job was he'd just go out and talk to the horse, and the boy, he never said a word. He never spoke. No word would come out of him. And but he went and he got his little brush and he worked with the horse and never said a word, never said a word. And one day, one of the ladies that was working with the kids out there heard him, and he was talking. He was going like this to the horse, and he said, "I love you." That was the first thing he said. "I love you." And that was the key that opened. And they know they're so wonderful with the children. I mean,
sounds like an amazing organization.
But that was a pretty and very successful story. But they're not all successful, but many of them are. And some of these kids really get great lives, and it's just worth it.
I love that they use animals as a conduit to get these these kids to relax and be able to speak. That's amazing.
And connect with something, even if they can't seem to connect with people.
Yeah.
Sometimes the animals are the very first opening and connection. And then after a while, when the kids are there for a while, they really, like, the little girls will have like a mother figure in that house with them. And they have their beds and they read their books and they do that. And it becomes like a loving home. And they take them on adventures. And I can't tell you how many people who have been around Child Help, who have gotten involved a little bit, how they have changed.
Yeah.
And that once they're with them, their whole focus is to help Child Help because they see what they're doing. They change children's lives. And I'm just so proud to be part of it.
Yeah, amazing thing. So let's get back to Hollywood for a minute.
Okay.
In 81, you and your soon-to-be husband had an amazing opportunity to go to Monaco, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Tell me about that.
Well, that's how Grace Kelly happened. On the way home, when he said, "I think you should do the Grace Kelly story," and so we went in to, this is one of my favorite pitch stories in the world.
But wait, how did you get to Monaco in the first place?
Oh, we went to it was called a television festival. They do it every year.
Okay.
And so we got to go there as an invitation to be part of it, and they have television stars, and they come and they visit and they have dinners, and then they have this big event where all these talented people sing and dance and have music. They put on a show for us. And we got to stand in a line with receiving line. It was Walter Cronkite was there, and all these wonderful people that you are so excited to meet. And I got to stand next to Grace Kelly in the receiving line, and she was so beautiful. It was like, it's Grace Kelly.
Yeah.
I was so starstruck. Anyway, and so we were there, and on the way home, my husband said, I'm going to say something. Yeah, I think you should play Grace Kelly. I think you should do a Grace Kelly story. And I went, right, really? He goes, no, I really think I think you would be wonderful. I watched the two of you in the receiving line, and it just was like light bulb. Anyway, so I studied her, and I studied.
You look so much like her, too.
Oh, well, thank you.
Really?
That's a huge compliment.
Really? But then you start filming it, like you're able to sell the project, right?
Well, here's the best pitch ever. We go into ABC, my husband and I, and I just lost his name. Anyway, the head of television at that time. I just went blank. It happens at this age, by the way. Anyway, he said, "Well, what did you want to see me about?" And my husband said, Cheryl Ladd, Grace Kelly. And he went, and we were about to sit down. And before our butts hit the chair, he said, sold. Yes.
Oh my God. Easiest pitch ever.
Ever. They don't all happen like that. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got a writer, and he produced it, and he did such a beautiful job producing the film.
But then you go into production. You go into production, and then tell us about that.
So just as we were all developed, we picked all of our locations, we were ready to start, and she had the accident driving off the road and passed away. So it was really odd because I didn't know her, but obviously loved her from afar and got to meet her. But it was like losing somebody close to me because I had done so much research. I was so in her life and who she was by then. Admired her all the more. But yeah, so of course the network said, "Oh yeah, let's go." And I go, "No, we're not going to do that. No, we can't. No, I can't do it." And Renier asked if we would, not film after that, because he saw he heard that I had said, "No, I'm not moving forward with the movie, can't do it." So he so appreciated it. He said, "If you will wait 3 months, we'll help you, we'll welcome you." She had read the script. My husband was sitting in the palace with her, and she was reading the script, and I said, "How was she?" And he said, "Very Grace Kelly." And but he said you could just see the actress as she's reading the script. You could see the actress in her, because she would, she was trying to be kind of cool and go through it and all of that. But at the end, she liked it very much, and she became actually part of the production. And they helped us find all kinds of locations and things, and helped us. It
was a special time, huh?
It was extraordinary. Here's how special it was. The very final scene that we were shooting out on the hillside overlooking the palace and the ocean. It was so beautiful. And we finished. The director said, "Cut, that's a wrap." And it started to snow in the Riviera, in the Riviera. Yeah, it started to snow, and everybody froze.
That's spooky.
All of the crew, everybody stopped. Everybody stopped and just went like this and looked up, and I looked over at one of the crew guys. I said, "I didn't know it snowed here." And he said, It doesn't.
Yeah.
I've lived here my whole life. I've never seen snow. And in a strange way, it was like, I don't know, it was like grace
Oh, yeah.
falling on the
Yeah.
project
Yeah.
because she had read that script and she had wanted it
Yeah.
to be made. And it was just sort of a little, just felt like a little
No.
kiss, you know?
Yeah. No, I got the chills hearing that. That's
Yeah, we
amazing.
did
Yeah.
too. We did
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It was freaky wonderful. Yeah, it was magical.
And it was well received, wasn't it?
Very
Got
well received.
got great reviews and
Yes.
yeah. So then in 91, you decided to leave Hollywood. What was that about? What was
Teenage
happening then?
teenage girls, teenage daughters.
Bad place to raise them or what?
Yeah, we just there's so much, and it's
Mhm.
such a difficult time, especially for girls. You know, the competition, the all that big city, and all the influences that are there.
Yeah.
And so we took them up to a little town in north of Santa Barbara, and they went to a little high school in this little town, and they were safe
Mhm.
for those last 2-3 years of high school, and it was really good for them. And they did all the school plays, and they had a great life, and they were safe and had a little time to just be young girls and in a
Yeah.
safe environment and not have to make big serious decisions right away.
Mhm.
And LA, for teenagers can be really dangerous.
Yeah. And your daughter Jordan is an actress, right?
She is. She sure is. Yes.
And you did a
She's
film
also,
together.
that she teaches Pilates. She got her Pilates, um, what do you call it?
Certification.
Her
Yeah.
certification and
Yeah.
everything. So, when in the COVID, it was something that kept her really sane because she, do all her Pilates classes, and it gave her so much connection with all of these young women that are friends of hers, as well as just people who want to do Pilates. So it was really healthy for her, and I started doing it with her.
Great.
And I had never really done Pilates, but I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
So now she's keeping me in shape.
So you the two of you did a film together, right?
Yes.
What
Every
was that?
Mother's Worst Fear, the
Mhm.
movie of the week. Yeah. She was
That
great.
I mean, what a gift to be able to do a film with your daughter.
It was such a joy. It was like we had, sleepovers every other
Mhm.
night together. She had her
Mhm.
place and I had mine, but some nights we just had to be together. It was great.
Mhm.
It was so
So,
fun working with her. She was really, really, really good in it. I was very proud of her.
mhm. So for the past, I don't know, 20 years, it seems like you've done so much work. Is there any one role that really stands out? I mean, I was thinking about the OJ role.
Well, that was fun because
Yeah.
John Travolta and I both became famous literally at the same moment in our careers. And I had never met him, and he had never met me. We'd never met each other, and we had all these mutual people that we knew, but we had never. So we had so much fun on that set because when they were, setting up the thing, we would sit there talking like two best friends and talking about the industry and when we started and all of that. And he's such a nice man.
Yeah.
He's a really nice man.
Been through a tough time last few years.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she came to the set and she was just darling.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about the series Las Vegas? The series Las Vegas? What was that like?
That was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jimmy's a piece of work. He is such a great actor, and he is bigger than life. Somebody described him as a prowling tiger. He's got that. And when Jimmy arrives on the set, he's arrived. Yeah, he was great. I loved playing that character, his wife, because she was really, she really had him under she was the only person that had him under any kind of control whatsoever.
Hmm.
And she had to do it very smoothly.
Mhm.
Had to smooth
So,
him.
so what do you want to do now? What role would you like now?
Oh, golly. Well, I played everything from my grandmother and Though None Go With Me. I played that old woman. Uh,
Hmm.
I loved that, playing any kind of a character. Someone that's different from myself.
Hmm.
And I got to be Mrs. Santa Claus in the Santa Pups. That was really fun. And unforgettable, I played this very, very disturbed mother who was really fun to play because she was so controlling and so dark.
So, do those dark roles impact you at all? Does it carry over into your life at all, or are you able to just turn it off and go home?
More so than I used to be able to. When she was bad and I had to really shape that poor
Hmm.
little girl. Anyway, that was hard. Because at the end, and I'd go, honey, I just, it's just pretend. And she goes, I know. She'd be laughing. I'd be in the corner crying because I had to be so mean to her. Yeah, that was kind of weird and tough. But it's one of the movies I'm so proud of doing. And,
Hmm.
I got to work with Michael Caine. I've gotten to work with so many great people. Michael Caine and who else? John Voight, um, Christopher Plummer. Oh, Christopher Plummer.
Hmm.
It's great. Yeah, I've gotten to work with some wonderful, wonderful people.
Yeah, I mean, you really had a wonderful, wonderful career. It's really amazing.
I've been, I did
And
a lot of work. When I look back at the amount
yeah,
of work that I have done,
yeah, amazing. And
yeah.
I know you have some good Hollywood stories. So give us a couple.
Oh,
Something no one's heard. Come on.
something no one's heard. Oh, this is hard. Um, there are some that will never leave my lips, as you well know. Let's see. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
All right, your most famous Hollywood story.
Let's see. Oh, I did a special for General Electric, and it was hosted by John Wayne. And I
Hmm.
did a dance number in it. And the press people wanted to have a photograph for TV guide cover with John Wayne and myself. John Wayne, and I'm down here. I have a picture of it. Uh, and I'm in my little hair's up, and I'm in this little outfit that I'm supposed to be dancing in. And I look up at him, and he's looking at me, and we're taking our picture. I can't speak. It's John Wayne. He doesn't say a word. He's just very professional and smiles, and you know. And I realized that he was not well. It was the
Oh,
second. He just found out that he had his second round of cancer. They thought he thought he had beaten it, and I thought he was looking not as robust as he usually does, and I didn't know that then. But what was really cute, so he wasn't real talkative. I think he wanted
hmm.
to go lie down. Actually, I think he was.
Right.
But he just, when it was all done, and the photographer said, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Wayne, and thank you, Miss Ladd. I think we've got what we want." And I just kind of stood there for a minute, and he looks down at me and he says, "You're quite a looker, little lady." Like he was doing a John Wayne impersonation. He was, I just went, it was what a moment.
Oh, I love it. That is great. That
Yeah,
is great.
nice
Oh
man.
my gosh. So, how are you doing during the whole pandemic? Any silver lining?
Yes, I'm an avid reader anyway. And obviously, when you're doing a film, you don't get a chance to read much other than the script. And yeah, I've been binge reading Rosamund Pilcher. I love, because my husband's Scottish, so we love Scotland, England. You know, we spent a lot of time there.
You ready to travel again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
My husband and I just had our 40th wedding anniversary.
Yay! Oh, that's awesome.
It is, you know what? It's pretty wonderful.
That's really amazing. I
And
mean,
you know what? We started out as friends, and we're still friends.
I think that's the most important thing, don't you?
Yeah, we still love being together. We still love traveling.
Yeah. Make each other laugh. Yeah. That's the
Yes.
most important thing. I
Oh,
could talk to you all night, but we have the chat box just lighting up here.
Oh, good.
So let's see. Let's dig into a couple questions. Is there a role that you passed up that you would have liked to have done?
Well, yes and no. The yes part is they had offered me Burning Bed. And I sat with it and I thought, okay, Cheryl, this is a true story. And could you live with somebody taking that course of action with their husband?
Explain that show. I don't think a lot of people know that. Yeah.
At the end, this woman is abused by her husband. In the end, she sets the bed on fire and leaves the house, and he dies. So powerful, yes, and abusing women, you know, that got to me. But I thought, you know, her decision of how to deal with it. Could I live with it if somebody did that, set their husband on fire? And I, you know, in my heart of hearts, I said, I don't think I could handle that. If somebody saw me in that movie do that, and somebody did that, I don't know. I don't think I could handle it. So she did a beautiful job in it. And Farrah, you know, she was great in it. And
wait, so how funny, were you offered the job and then they gave it to Farrah?
They sent me the script, yes.
So she was in second position to you. That's pretty crazy, huh?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And, you know, and that set her off too. I mean, she really took off from there. So it was good for her, and she did a great job at it. I just knew myself well enough to know that if somebody did that to their husband,
yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't think I could live with it.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one. Loved you in Charlie's Angels. Any advice for a young Canadian girl, 17 years old, pursuing her passion of acting and becoming an actress?
Advice? Just be ready for a lot of no's. That's the hardest part. So much of your courage is what you need. You just, if you really want it, you really have to be able to put up with a lot of no, and go out and try to get a good agent and go up for as many things as you can get through the door in, because you never know when it might happen or when that right thing will come. I started out doing a lot of commercials. What happened for me was that by shooting all these commercials, I had a sense of how the industry worked, how being on camera worked, what angles, what, you know, hitting marks, all of those things, and going to acting class. So just...
You're so multi-talented. Do you think that you have to be able to sing and dance and act? And
I don't think it hurts. I don't think it hurts. But some people are just actresses and they do it really well. So
so just show up and work hard, huh?
Yes, and if you have the passion, it's not going to feel good all the time. You have to have real belief in yourself. And you have to be able to walk in the door, do your audition, and it's no for you. You have to just, okay, that's done. Now I'm going over here and I'm doing this audition. You have to kind of build this sort of wall around expectations and just keep trying to do your best and create an interesting character.
And honestly, that's really what comes through for me about you is that your strong sense of self. It seems like you've just always known who you are and this is what I'm doing and get out of
Yeah.
my way.
Well, yeah, I was just determined about myself. I didn't have great advice for anybody else, and how they
Hmm.
were going about their life was not my business.
Hmm.
How I was going about my life was completely my business.
Hmm.
But I got that from my parents. My parents
Yeah.
just let all their kids be whoever they were. They didn't
Hmm.
try to turn us into each other, or why aren't you more like your sister, or why don't you? No, they realized that each of us was a complete individual, and that we were allowed to be who we wanted to be.
And that
They,
served you well in Hollywood. I mean,
yes,
you really stuck to who you were. I mean, to
yes,
turn down Charlie's Angels 3 times takes a lot of guts. I gotta
yes.
say. Okay, couple more. Um, let's see. Are you allowed to keep any of the outfits and clothes? Hmm.
Sometimes I had, when I look back at it now, I had several things from Charlie's Angels that somehow got lost in the shuffle. I don't know,
Hmm.
moving houses, and I
Hmm.
don't. That's not in anymore. And now I think, how stupid was I to give
Yeah.
any of those things away? I still have. I wore it on the five. Not on the five. What was that talk show? Doesn't matter. I went
Oh,
on a talk show. Jacqueline and I were doing it, and I walked out in a sweater I wore on Charlie's Angels, and I had the photo of me on Charlie's Angels, and I was wearing that green sweater, and it was one of my favorite sweaters I got to wear, so I still have it.
that's amazing. Okay. What are thoughts on the new Charlie's Angels? I love the so positive, strong women. Um, and it really impressed me.
They are strong women. I must say that the very first one with Drew Barrymore and Cameron and who's the other? Lucy Liu.
Right,
I I
right.
thought that had the perfect balance of kind of nodding to the old
Hmm.
and being the new girls. It had some more comedic.
Yeah,
You just they were adorable. I thought they were all absolutely adorable in it, and so likable, and you were rooting for them. The way people felt more about our characters in
hmm,
Charlie's Angels. One of the reasons it was such a success is that people really rooted for us. People really liked what
yeah.
our clothes and what we were doing, but also it was the three of us. Oh, and then we had Bosley,
Right.
David Doyle. David Doyle was,
He
oh,
was a good friend, right?
I couldn't have made it through Charlie's Angels without him. He was wonderful.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
Jacqueline.
Yeah. Did you do your own stunts?
They wouldn't really let us because they couldn't afford for any of us to be hurt because we had to, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so here, I bet you get this all the time. You are still so beautiful. Do you mind sharing what you use on your skin?
Well, I'm like every woman on the planet. I try all the new things. Who says this is going to work better? You should see my drawers. My husband goes, honey, I have found that my particular skin needs kind of particular things. Like, I don't wash my face with soap. I use these little wipes that have vitamin E in them. So I remove all this. And then as soon as I do that a few times, then I put Caudalie is the moisturizer I use. But that's about it for any kind of beauty stuff.
Hmm, man. And you're a golfer, so I imagine you use sunscreen, right?
Yes, mostly on
Oh,
my face.
okay.
But sometimes when I go to Hawaii, I'm a really bad girl and get a tan. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. How
okay,
can you be in Hawaii and not get a tan? I don't know.
um, Susie from Facebook asked, did you have any special training? Sounds like you trained throughout your life, right?
Yes. I was a dancer. I started dance lessons when I was 7. I was a gymnast for a little while, and then I got boobs. That didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Being a
Mm-hmm.
gymnast and having a lot of money,
Right.
they just don't go together. So that was the end of my gymnastics
It
career.
worked for Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, but they came in handy other places.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I did. And and literally, as soon as I was in LA and I could afford it, I started acting class. I went to one class. Vincent Chase was his name, and then I went to another acting class that was really good. Two excellent acting classes.
Let's see. Do you have any upcoming projects?
Not at the moment. Everything's been pretty shut down because of COVID. We
But
have one that we're trying to develop. My husband wrote something that I just love, and I'm hoping Jacqueline and I will be able to do it together. So
that's great. But you also have a design firm, right? Aren't you involved in?
yes, we were building.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Cheryl Ladd Signature Homes. It was pretty exciting. We built a house last year in Cordillera Ranch, and it sold, and it was great. And we were in this whole gun-ho thing, and then my husband had eye issues, and we designed together. So we're putting that on hold until we hope that his eyesight will be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have such a full, wonderful life, it sounds like. Any grandchildren?
Yes, well, I'm a step grandma. I'm Grammy for 3 children, 14, 10, 11, 14, 11, and 9.
Are they nearby?
Yes, within an hour and a half from us, so we get to have them a lot.
That's one thing I think has been nice about the pandemic, at least, is just time to slow down. And,
Yes.
you know, my 2 boys are back in the house, and it's just like there's never in a time would they have ever moved back at home at this age. So it's just, you know, it's a gift.
It truly is. And it was so great. It's every time we get to see them. We love it in church. I think our little granddaughter is bringing her friend in a couple of weeks. So we're going to have 2 little girls, and I'm planning all the dress up stuff that I'm going to get.
Okay. See, you should have kept those outfits.
I know. It was one of the things my sister and I would do. Marianne is 2 years older than I am. When we were little, she was 9, and I was, 6, 7 years old in those years. And we had a dress up box in our basement. So maybe that's where it all started, because I would see a show and then I'd become all those characters.
Yeah. And so this question, what was your favorite project? And what comes up for me is that you love the dark stuff, but you also love to be funny.
Yes.
Yeah. But what's your favorite project when you look back?
I would say film-wise, Grace Kelly, because that was such and being able to do it with my husband, and it's just one, people still watch it. You can get it on Amazon and all of those places, so anybody can watch it now, which is great. But and then Annie Get Your Gun, doing Broadway, which had been my dream for years. I remember when I was a child, I visited my cousin who lived in St. Louis, and they have the Muni Theater, outdoor theater there, and I got to see a play. I think it was, I can't remember the name of the play. Anyway, they had some children in it, and I'm watching these kids and I think, I could do that. I could do that. And then I went, I could do that. That's what I'm going to do. It's really funny how little things, when you're growing up, really start steering you in certain directions.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and you've had so many turning points in your life.
Yes.
You know that is there any one turning point that you felt was again kind of God sent, just a spiritual, like something came in and said, okay, you're going this way, Cheryl?
God. Hmm. What'd you say? Oh, my husband just reminded me of the one we. Yeah, we
Tell him
did
he's
a movie.
welcome to come in.
Oh, he's very cute. So when I was doing Jekyll and Hyde, we met a woman at Michael Payne's house. We were out to his house for lunch, and he had a bunch of friends over. And my husband was sitting next to this wonderful woman, and he was saying to her that we were looking to get out of LA, and we were looking south, and we were looking, just trying to find the right place to get to. And she said, "Well, you should look in the Santa Ynez Valley." And he said, you should look in my valley. I mean, we were in England. He said, no, we have to live in America. She said, no, I have a house in the Santa Ynez Valley. And you should go look there. It's just beautiful. And you know, horse farms and vineyards and a little towns. And he's thinking, oh, that sounds great. She says, as a matter of fact, I'm going to give you my address and the phone number, and you go stay in my house. Don't stay in a hotel. You won't get the feel of what it feels like to live there. So you go stay at my house. And so we went, and we stayed at her house, and we fell in love with the Santa Ynez Valley, and thought, yep, this is for us. So we need to buy a house. So we came back and looked for houses. We didn't find anything we thought was going to work for us. So the next weekend, we decided we would have to build. We'll just build the house we want. And the next weekend, this woman calls and said, get in the car, come right now. There's a piece of property going on sale today. Get in the car. So we drove up there. We walked. She took us to this property, which was a big, beautiful, flat, beautiful piece up a hill, 22 acres. But the house was up above, and you could see all across the whole Santa Ynez Valley floor to the mountains, coastal mountains. It was breathtaking. And she said, what do you think? I said, where do I write the check? Who do I write the check
Wow.
to? Yeah.
Wow.
And so we moved there. We lived there 22 years.
That's amazing.
Years. So
yeah.
That was God putting that one wonderful woman.
Yep.
Sitting.
Yep.
So I was supposed to go do that movie because he was supposed to be there and talk to that woman, and gave us that wonderful life in the Santa Ynez Valley for 22 years.
I love it.
Yeah, great. God, we listen.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's great. And if you don't, he shouts louder, right?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Or he'll let you trip yourself up enough to go.
Okay, now I'll listen.
Yeah, help.
Well, Cheryl, we are out of time, and I just want to thank you so much for spending time with us. It's really been a joy. It's really great.
It was
such a pleasure.
Thank you.